Cycle on Global Television. We are live in the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Anthony Momodu. As a temporary response to the nation's growing food crisis and the rising price of commodities, President Bola Tinubu ordered the immediate release of more than 102,000 metric tons of various grain types from the Strategic Reserve and the Rice Millers Association of Nigeria. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, revealed this to State House correspondent after the final leg of 3 meetings of the Special Presidential Committee on Emergency Food Intervention at the Aso Rock Villa, Abuja. Diverging arrangements agreed upon at the final session, Idris stated that the first one is that the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security has been directed to release about 42,000 metric tons of maize, millet, gari, and other commodities in their strategic reserve so that these items will be made available to Nigerians. 42,000 metric tons immediately. The proposed meeting between the senators and Nigeria's security chiefs on the security situation of the country has been postponed due to the absence of some heads of intelligence agencies. Meanwhile, some security chiefs were at the Senate to discuss the state of insecurity across the country. Uyi Agbomofegbe has the rest of the story.
President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, who made the announcement during plenary, explained that the decision was taken in order to accommodate everyone involved. The Senate President directed the Clerk of the Senate to expand the invitees list to cover all service chiefs, National Security Advisor, Finance Minister, Interior Minister, Defense Minister, Minister of State for Defense, and the Minister of Police Affairs.
It's important to know that we represent the Nigerian people, and we can only do the will of the Nigerian people. And our job is to complement the efforts of the executive and then also to assist the executive to succeed. Because if the government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu does not succeed, it means that we have all failed. It means that Nigeria has failed. So the Senate will agree with me in view of the fact that the people we have mentioned are not here, the personnel we have mentioned are not here, and we need their presence to have a holistic and complete discussion on the security situation of the country. So is it the view of the Senate that this be moved to Tuesday, the 13th day of February 2023? Those in support say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Next week's security briefing, which is likely to hold behind closed doors, is expected to address the security problems facing Nigeria, including terrorism, kidnapping, and banditry. Uyi Agbomofegbe, reporting for Global Television News.
A former Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, has called for the review of tenancy laws in the states to compel landlords to collect rents monthly. Fashola spoke during the launch of his book titled Nigerian Public Discourse, The Interplay of Empirical Evidence and Hyperbole in Lagos, where he stated that advance payment of rent up to 3 years or more was overwhelming tenants. According to him, many houses are unoccupied due to the way rents are being collected. He urged other states to copy the tenancy bill passed by the Lagos State House of Assembly in 2011, which criminalized the collection of rent over 1 year in advance from a new tenant. World Bank, United Nations, International Children's Emergency Fund, UNICEF, and other development partners have made commitment to support Nigeria's school feeding program. This follows the federal government's decision to embark on public-private partnership to enhance investment in feeding of school children in the country. Speaking during a school feeding stakeholder strategic meeting with the theme Public-Private Partnerships and Innovative Financing to Enhance Investment in School Feeding in Nigeria, in Abuja, the representatives of the World Bank, Dr. Tunde Adekola, said the initiative would be supported by the bank. He added that the World Bank is working with other development partners to continue to leverage to support the program, and that they are willing to support the government of Nigeria to be able to achieve this objective. The military high command says its troops in the last 1 week have arrested 6 suspected violent extremists in the Federal Capital Territory. The Director, Defense Media Operations Major General Edward Buba, stated this while addressing newsmen on the activities of the troops across the country. According to him, troops across the 6 geopolitical zones of the country have remained undeterred by the prevailing circumstances as they continue to exhibit remarkable determination and sacrifice in pursuit of this noble goal. Kikelomo Okere has details.
Addressing newsmen amidst recent security appeal.
And still in the news, House of Representatives has passed the Electoral Act 2022 Amendment Bill for the second reading, brightening the prospect of electronic transmission of election results to minimize fraud in the nation's electoral process. The bill seeks to amend selected sections of the current Electoral Act to provide for the re-registration of voters, same-day elections, electronic transmission of results, as well as punishment for frivolous elections petition. Debating the general principles of the bill, Honorable Weaver lamented the gaps in the current Electoral Act 2022, noting that an amendment of the law to pave way for the electronic transmission of election results would help the nation's democracy. Similarly, the House of Representatives has resolved to probe alleged certificate racketeering by Nigerian students in collusion with some officials of government ministries, departments, and agencies. This followed the adoption of a motion by Rep. Abubakar Fulata, APC Jigawa, at plenary in Abuja. Adopting the motion, the House condemned in its entirety the act of certificate racketeering by Nigerian students in collusion with some MDAs. The House mandated its Committee on University Education to investigate the matter and identify those involved, mandating the committees to identify officials of the MDAs and others involved, as well as identify the students that had benefited from such institutions and their campuses in Nigeria. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has raised a special task force in all its zonal commands to enforce extant laws against currency mutilation and dollarization of the economy. The anti-graft agency spokesperson Dele Oyewale said this in a statement in Abuja. According to him, the task force inaugurated by the chairman of the commission, Ola Olukoide, is to protect the economy from abuse, leakages, and distortions that expose it to instability and disruptions. Also, proprietors of private universities and other institutions of higher learning charging fees in dollars have been invited by the commission. Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Health, Daju Kacholom, says the National Health Insurance Authority will enroll all Nigerians, including cancer patients, into the health insurance scheme. Speaking at a symposium organized by the ministry in collaboration with the National Institute for Cancer Research and Treatment, Kacholom noted that the prevalence of cancer is rising at an alarming rate. The federal government, she said, remained deeply committed to the fight against the disease and has recorded significant strides. She said it is estimated that over 124,000 new cases of cancer were recorded in Nigeria in the year 2020, which resulted in 78,899 deaths. The Director General of the Institute, Professor Usman Aliyu, stated that the theme of this year's World Cancer Day, close the care gaps, operationalizing the National Strategic Cancer Control Plan, underscores the urgent need to bridge the disparities in cancer care and treatment. The Independent National Electoral Commission has issued certificates of return to winners of Saturday's rerun and by-elections. At the end of the election exercise, 7 political parties won seats in both the national and state houses of assembly. The parties are the Action Democratic Party, All Progressive Congress, All Progressive Grand Alliance, Labour Party, New Nigerian People's Party, People's Democratic Party, and the Young Progressive Party. Oye Agbomofebre has the details.
Certificate presentations were done by INEC national commissioners representing each of the states where the rerun and by-elections were conducted, and winners declared by the commission. The national commissioners include May Agbamuche Mbu, Baba Bila, Kudu Haruna, Sam Olumeko, Modibo Alkali, Kunle Ajayi, Kenneth Sukagu, Abdullahi Zuru, and Rhoda Gumos. The senators-elect who were presented with the certificates of return at INEC headquarters in Abuja were Professor Anthony Okorie, Ebonyi South Senatorial District, Ebonyi APC, Pam Danchungyang, Plateau North Senatorial District, Plateau ADP, and Musa Mustafa, Yobe East Senatorial District, APC, Yobe State, among others. Speaking with journalists shortly after collecting his certificate, Danchungyang expressed happiness over his victory while promising to tackle insecurity in the plateau.
And we pray that God will give us the wisdom to face the challenges. The beautiful thing about life is that my constituency, Plateau North, reposed trust in me and gave me this mandate. I cannot claim any glory to any individual, first to my party and the whole of Plateau State. Any other political party that joined and gave me this mandate, I'm very happy. And the beautiful part of it is that I've won. And now I'm being put in the position to do the best for everybody who is under that under my zone.
I want to say thank you for they stood by me all this while. They know that as a woman, I have what it takes to bring back the deliverables of democracy down to the people. And what I'm assuring them here is I won't let them down. I'll give them effective representation of the best ever.
Recall that on February 3, 2024, the Independent National Electoral Commission had conducted legislative by-elections and rerun elections across 26 states of the country. Uyi Agmofwegbe, reporting for Global Television News.
Abia State High Court sitting in Umuahia has adjourned till February 16 a 1.5 billion naira defamation suit filed by ex-governor Theodore Orji against the chieftain of the All Progressive Congress APC, Prince Benjamin Apugo. The trial judge, Justice A.O. Chijoke, observed a delay in the process that had been filed since 2020 and ordered that the defendant must appear in court on the next adjourned date. He said the trial would begin on the next adjourned date with or without the presence of the defendant. The trial judge directed the clerk of the court to represent the appearance notice to the defendant for him to appear on the next adjourned date. The organized labor, following persistent hardship across the country, issued the federal government a 14 days ultimatum to honor its part of the October 2, 2023 agreement reached with labor to address the massive suffering caused by the hike in petrol prices and naira devaluation. The ultimatum, which starts counting from today, was conveyed in a joint statement signed by President of the Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC, Joe Ajaero, and the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria, TUC Chairman, Festus Osifo. The DOE warning that everything must be done within 2 weeks to avoid a situation where labor might be compelled to take appropriate steps to protect Nigerian workers and masses, which will herald a nationwide protest slated to begin on Friday, February 23rd. Labour maintained that the government's failure to uphold its end of the bargain was regrettable and unacceptable to the working people and the citizenry. They allege that the widespread hunger is now ravaging millions of Nigerians, with workers' purchasing power significantly eroded, while insecurity has assumed an increasing dimension. Lawmakers have petitioned the National Assembly seeking explanations, while some communities in the Ohafia local government area of Enugu have been denied power supply for 5 years. He said in spite of the blackout for 5 years, exorbitant bills to the tune of 2.1 billion naira were presented to the affected communities. Osonwa, in petition he submitted to the House of Representatives in Abuja on Friday, said the communities were seeking explanation on how they accumulated a bill of 2.1 billion naira in spite of not having power supply for 5 years. According to him, several attempts have been made towards the amicable resolution of the lingering issues occasioned by the perpetual darkness in the affected communities, but to no avail. The Nigerian Customs Service on Friday said it had arrested 3 men for alleged illegal export of elephant tusk to Asia. The men were arrested at different locations in Lagos between January 25, 2024 and February 4th and 6th, 2024 for allegedly facilitating the sale and export of 5 pieces of elephant tusk weighing 25.35 kilogram and worth about $16,000. It was gathered that the arrest involved the Customs Special Wildlife Office and the Customs Police Unit during an intelligence-led joint enforcement operation with the Wildlife Justice Commission. The officer in charge of Nigerian Customs Service Special Wildlife Office, Assistant Comptroller Abim Isafiade, said the service is leaving no stone unturned in its commitment to end illegal wildlife trade. You're watching News Cycle coming to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. We are on Star Times channel 276. Kindly follow us on all social media platforms and other handles now showing on your screen. When News Cycle returns, NNPCL and the Central Bank seal part on crude remittances. The news continues shortly with details of these and more after this break. Stay with us. Welcome back from the break. This is Global Television bringing you live broadcasts of News Cycle. Thank you for staying with us on the foreign scene. Former President Donald Trump has won the Nevada Republican caucus by a large margin. The only person whose name was on the ballot was Ryan Blinken, a pastor and businessman. It means Trump will take all Nevada's 26 delegates, the system used by the parties to determine their presidential candidate. Initial results showed the former president gaining over 99% of the vote. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has rejected Hamas's proposed ceasefire terms, saying total victory in Gaza is possible within months. He was speaking after Hamas laid out a series of demands in response to an Israeli-backed ceasefire proposal. Netanyahu said negotiations with the group were not going anywhere and described their terms as bizarre. Israel was expected to take issue with Hamas's counter-offer, but this response is categorically rebuked, and Israeli officials clearly see an effort by Hamas to end the war on its terms as utterly unacceptable. As the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken travels across the Middle East to broker a deal between Palestinians and Israelis with the help of the major players in the region, Palestinian envoy to Nigeria, Abdullah bin al-Shawesh, has accused the U.S. of double standards in its role as a mediator and push for a two-state solution. Speaking in Abuja, the ambassador also condemned Israel's continuous seizure of Palestinian funds, an action, he said, has resulted in Palestinian inability to pay salaries and cover costs associated with diplomatic operations. Global Television correspondent tells us more. Despite effort made by Secretary Blinken across the Middle East in search of a peace deal to end the Hamas-Israel conflict, Ambassador Abdullah bin al-Shawesh says the United States is favoring the Israelis and in alignment with the Israelis.
On the two-state solution, why the U.S. Secretary of State Antonio Blinken asked his department official to conduct a review and present political option regarding possible U.S. and international recognition of the Palestinian state after the war in Gaza.
He said the international community was also complicit in the suffering inflicted on Gazans, with the suspension of aid and donations to the United Nations Refugees Workers Agency.
By suspending financial assistance to the UNRWA, the donor countries are by default completing the Israeli genocidal mission that the court prohibited. After 4 months of the textbook genocide conducted by Israel, supported politically and militarily by many Western countries, and after zero accomplishment of this friends war declared goal. Those countries have become assured that this war is just to save the political skins of the Prime Minister and his coalition.
Abdullah blamed Israel's refusal to release Palestinian funding for the inability of the Palestinian government to meet a wide range of obligations, and domestic and foreign.
During the delivery of appropriate humanitarian aid to the Gazians, the Israeli man-made financial crisis by refusing to transfer our clearance fund for the third month in a row has deeply affected our ability to pay the monthly salaries and the government daily running costs. This has set back all macroeconomic measurement and microeconomic activities, pushing more Palestinian families below the poverty line and causing the unemployment rate to skyrocket.
The Palestinian envoy to Nigeria expressed hope that the international committee can only support and show empathy to the Palestinian people by resuming funding, recognizing a Palestinian sovereignty, and pushing for the two-state solution. Anthony Momodu reporting for Global Television News. A quick look at business. Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, and the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, have reached an agreement on the directive by the President for earnings from oil to be domiciled in the Apex Bank. Amidst rising economic crisis, especially the free fall of the Naira, the Nigerian leader, Tinubu, directed the CBN to handle crude proceeds. A joint statement by the two bodies said NNPCL would domicile a significant portion of its revenues and other banking services with the Apex Bank. The decision followed a meeting between the NNPCL Group Chief Executive Officer Mele Kyari and CBN Governor Olayemi Kadoso in Abuja. The World Bank has pledged increased financial support to Nigeria, lauding the economic reforms of the past 8 months of President Bola Tinubu's administration. The bank's managing director of operations, Anand Bajde, conveyed the bank's commitment during a courtesy visit to the president at the Aso Rock Villa, Abuja. Oyu Agbomofiegbe brings us more.
Addressing journalists after the visit, Shade described the Nigeria World Bank partnership as comprehensive and very fruitful, expressing a commitment to further engage on critical aspects of the country's development agenda. The World Bank chief also expressed confidence that the bank would grow its current programs with the Nigerian government.
It's really important and quite encouraging to see all the important reform steps that are being taken in the country. And the partnership between Nigeria and the World Bank is very, very comprehensive and very fruitful. And we're here to make sure that we can continue to be very supportive as these reforms are being implemented and putting the economy on a path towards recovery. And that's what we really want to do. The World Bank will be continuing very much to support the reforms through various instruments that we have. And we will be actually stepping up our financial support to Nigeria in light of all the different initiatives that are being taken and all the needs that the economy has.
On his part, Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wole Edun, highlighted the outcomes of the two-day meeting of the Western and Central Africa Ministers of Finance co-hosted by Nigeria and the World Bank. Edun said issues of development and concessional financing for the West and Central Africa topped the agenda of the summit.
It was a mini summit of West and Central African finance ministers with the World Bank Group. And of course, issues of development, issues of concessionary financing, and increasing the level of concessionary financing to West and Central Africa in this particular case, well, what was on the agenda. And we reported to Mr. President that we had a very robust discussion, and the emphasis was laid on increasing, as we have just heard from the Managing Director Operations of the World Bank, emphasis was on increasing resources to Nigeria, to West and Central Africa, and also improving electricity access, growing the social safety net, providing greater support for digitization and technological development of our economies, and ultimately to assist in our search for solutions to the issue of development and leading our various countries out of poverty.
Emphasis had been laid on increasing resources to Nigeria, West and Central Africa, as well as to improve electricity access, growing the social safety nets, providing greater support for digitization and technology development of the economies, and to assist in the search for solutions to the issue of development and leading more people out of poverty. Uyi Agbomofwegbe, reporting for Global Television News.
Nigerian Women for Agriculture Progress has said that most verified women farmers are yet to receive the 15 million naira intervention in the agricultural sector that was promised since 1999. The farmers claimed few women who received them were portfolio farmers with no farmland. The national coordinator of the group, Omo Lara Sowensin, while speaking at the Women in Agriculture and Agribusiness Convention in Abuja, lamented that many women farmers collected loans to buy farm inputs, and most of them were unable to pay back the loans. She urged the government to look into why many interventions given to their male counterparts have not yielded much, saying government interventions kept increasing every year, but food production kept declining. The Central Bank of Nigeria, in its recently revised consumer protection framework, has mandated financial service providers to comply with minimum standards in their advertising and promotional materials. One of the requirements is that FSPs should not make reference to unaudited financial statements in their sales promotion. Other requirements include disclosing contact details and its regulatory authority, disclosing cost of products, including all fees and other associated charges, the nature and value of benefits where an advertisement refers to or is linked to other value-adding benefits, and avoiding mentioning the names or making comparisons with competitors. The Central Bank of Nigeria has instructed regulated entities to provide customers with notices of outstanding obligations before beginning debt collection. This is to ensure that the debt recovery process is transparent, courteous, and fair. CBN stated this in a document released on its website titled Revised Consumer Protection Regulations. It noted that the essence of the document is to ensure financial institutions follow consumer protection principles. The regulations outline consumer rights and aim for better outcomes and access to financial services. The document states that foreclosures should only be initiated as a last resort after other recovery options have failed. That's it on News Cycle, and it came to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. We're on Star Times, channel 276. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms using @GlobalTVNG and other handles now showing on your screen. I am Anthony Momodu saying thank you for watching and see you again.